And we are back. We've been having some good laughs, good laughs. The energy is up. I know we're ready to tap into this episode. It's always good to start with a good laugh, make your heart feel good. So, what's
Now
up, my
go ahead.
co-host?
What's
No, I
going
want
on,
to
y'all?
share. I want to share the laugh because because I know people know the Zoom struggle. So I put the Zoom blur on, and Kamau was like, "Nah, that's way too aggressive." And Zuri's like, "Yeah, it looks like I'm trying to hide an Obama poster from my boss."
Like when you're on the job and you
yeah,
not trying to show, you or your personality too much.
yeah, that
Like
Pan
me, I have a
Africanism.
portrait of a Basquiat behind me, right? Dark skin, just beautiful dark skin. So sometimes I'm like, am I gonna be me today, or am I gonna do the aggressive blur resume? It's really a
You
choice,
definitely got
which
to
is
switch it
sad,
up.
but yeah, it is a choice. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I need a virtual background for bad hair days. Like I need you just to hook my shit up real quick. Give me a fresh cut, maybe some clean braids. That's what I need. Cause sometimes it'd be like an all staff meeting, and it's shit, man. It's early, man. I don't like got my shit done. I got the biggest fro, dog. Like it's just
yeah, over your
whole
eyes.
lion's mane. Yeah, and I'm just like, damn, a virtual would be good right now. But nope, we going no camera. Y'all just gonna have to look at this nice, clean, professional headshot I took, and that's who I'm gonna be today.
And you a director, so coming on that Zoom with that afro, you'll mess
Boy,
them up. You'll
that
F
thing
them
be
up.
humongous, bro.
Yeah.
Like I even be surprised how big my hair is. So I know these other folks ain't ready. So
Hey man, run it. I be feeling bad, blackity black lately. I don't know what it is. And also I'm spoiled. Like I've spent most of my professional career in black spaces. Right. So by the time I got to a white
Lucky.
space, like I said, I was already cold with my skill set. So you could tell me little to nothing. Like I'm wearing like what people call dashiki, but I sure okay, like I'm wearing Nigerian native clothes on Monday at this majority white and Asian school. Like, you know what time it is.
you know what's you know what's interesting? I feel like just a quick observation. I feel like the most intimidating thing about you, Tunji, is probably your size and your skin tone. And I say the skin tone because I've observed this shit real time, bro. Like where I've brought somebody who was hella dark skin around, and I could tell just like there was nothing that person was doing other than just being black. Like they were dressed the part, they looked clean, like nothing else. But I could feel the uncomfortableness, and I'm like, why? Like what is the difference? And it was the skin tone. It's something as simple as how dark I am in comparison. Like that's what makes people uncomfortable.
No, it matters. No, it definitely does. Like I think about, and then you learn with all of this when you were teaching, like the darker the kid is, like the more they get treated differently from a young age, right? When somebody has high energy, that dark skinned black boy or black girl, they're gonna get in trouble for it more than the fair skinned or the white kid, because it's just, oh, they're just being kids versus this one's being malicious, right? They had ill intent when I was pushing somebody, but both kids were just playing.
Yeah.
So yeah, walking into those spaces, and I don't know how much of that like influenced my personality, because I've already been a joyous person, but when you're not in a good mood growing up, and you just walk around straight faced. I say this all the time. I just walked around straight faced and be like, why are you angry? I'm not upset in this moment. I'm just not smiling. But because I'm so dark, it's like, no, you upset. No, you angry. Like you gotta be feeling some type of way. So I would smile to make people comfortable.
Ooh.
So I could exist and just be me.
Man. And then now I want to hop in from a woman's standpoint, the smiling piece. With us women, it's like when we don't smile, it's always just, oh no, women should always smile. You should be smiling. So like coming from that side of the coin, even when I was younger, I hated when somebody told me that I had to smile, because I'm a smiley person, but sometimes that takes energy. You just don't want to smile. So like coming from your standpoint, Tunji, of how you were just existing, I don't want to say I was just existing, but I just didn't walk around, just wide teeth always showing. And then I noticed that every time I wouldn't smile, it was almost like women should be forced to always look happy. You know what I'm saying? And if you're not looking happy, then something's wrong, or this isn't how how women are supposed to exist in the world. And when I tell you that shit is so exhausting, like that shit is so exhausting. Like, of course you want to be happy and you want to always have a smile on your face, but that's not reality. So I just had to jump in and tell the piece from a woman's experience of like, you have to smile, you should be smiling. It's like, nah, I don't actually.
No, it's wild all the games women have to play. Because I saw like just a post the other day where a chick was like, I had to delete this number that I got at the gas station because I didn't want to get unalived while I was pumping my gas.
No, that's some real shit.
Like, and you, I'd be like, that's so crazy. But
no, that's real.
Nah.
Like, you could go Google right now cases of women that have lost their lives, either brutally beat or shot, whatever you want to say, because a guy could not take rejection in that moment. Like, that is such a serious topic. Like, all these other podcasts, I wish there was a podcast that talked to how men can take rejection. Like, it's okay. Like, knowing that it's a man's nature to go after, what, you all want. And I know y'all probably can talk to that. But being from the woman's side, it's like seeing the stories and actually having friends that have went through that. Like, thank God didn't, get unalived, but it got scary, following and calling out your name and saying and telling them what the guy would do to them in real time, and you hearing it and you're like, oh, this shit isn't a game. Like, this is scary. So you start to create little secrets, or like you said, nuances to make it from the gas station to a mile down the street home, you know?
What's so crazy is I always look at it like, nah, that's got to be mental illness, but that doesn't make it better. That doesn't mean you still got to get home.
Yeah.
Right. So it's developing all these strategies and skills because of the society we live in. And it's just wild. It's wild.
Yeah.
Well, turn of events.
I know, and it's crazy because I came on the mic saying we start with laughs, and we were laughing, and then boom, unalive this.
No, that's also, I'm not gonna hold you. That's what I love about Black people. Like, if so much struggles, you can laugh about low-key anything.
Yeah,
and it's messed up, but it's how we do.
Yeah.
It's
that dark humor.
Do.
That
Anything
dark humor sometimes is the best humor.
Anything could be a joke.
I think that's what makes us like our skin so thick, is that like we poke and prod at our darkest, history, our darkest moments. Like, we're gonna go the farthest, and not even in a way to entertain another class or group of people, but just to really make light out of something that is extremely heavy. And to me, I feel like that in a way that's such a blessing, because your perspective on the world really shapes your experience. How you wake up, how you show up, your mood, your energy. If you're embedded and entrenched in the darkness, the heaviness all the time, like, how do you move forward? Like there's a certain point of like acknowledgement, but like, how can I make this better than what it actually is, right?
Yeah, man, when you said that, I'm over here cracking up, trying not to ruin your moment with my loud laughter, because it was this video that surfaced on Twitter, and it was a kind of like double entendre, I guess you could say, on Harriet Tubman experiencing slavery. And if you all are from Atlanta, it's this snippet from like 3 woman rappers where they're like, they call me yeah. So then it was a Harriet Tubman kind of play. And it was the darkest humor, right? Excuse my language. And I respect you, Harriet Tubman. But man, this is what this lady said. She was rapping and she was like, my name Big Harriet. Yeah, don't call me slave hoe. And when I tell you, I had to watch that over. Like, I know she just ain't say what she just said. But you could do nothing but laugh, right? But if you think about, of course, the terrible events that happen, you're like, that's not funny. That's not funny. But then it's like, nah, that shit funny.
No, real talk. Mike Tyson, he said something so profound. He said, if you pay attention to history, you realize history is just us in funny clothes. Like, people walking around like with big Harriet energy right now. And Harriet in that time, I'm sure was like, don't call me slave hoe. Like, I'm about to deal. This ain't it. It's freedom or death. That's one of her quotes.
Thanks.
She said, I had reasoned this out in my mind. I had one or two options, either liberty or death. If I could not have one, it's the other. Translation 2023 Atlanta, don't call me slave hoe. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
That's the energy.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. Because I was looking at that thing cracking up, and I was like, I kind of feel bad for like laughing at this. But that really was her mentality through her actions, like not just saying it. Yeah.
And what's so dope is I actually do this in drop 5 of like rhyme, the 6 drops to flow state. Drop 5 is creative expression. And one of the intros we do is I show them a brain scan. And I say, there is one thing that we all have done, that if they did a brain scan and 3 parts of your brain light up when you do this. The same part that lights up when you're exercising. And we know the endorphins and everything that comes from that. That's one part that lights up. The other part of your brain that lights up like you were meditating when you do this. And then the third part that lights up is like you were having sex. So when you do this, your brain lights up under the scan like you were meditating, having sex, and exercising at the same time. And that's laughter. And you know, and it makes sense all of a sudden when you get that deep laugh with your whole body, and you just like, nah, chill out. Like, I can't breathe. My soul hurts. So like, stop. Like, stop. So it makes sense why when like Black people history, like you going through it, running to laughter. Because it's something that supersedes struggle. Like it takes over your body. It makes everything else fall away, at least for that time period.
Yeah, it really does.
So it makes sense why, go ahead, Kamau.
Somebody on Twitter said, laughing is lit. Who invented this?
Like, yeah, I think I saw that too.
No, real talk. It's a gift from God, for real.
Yeah, and to go back to that too, I watch of course, a lot of interviews and sometimes comedian interviews, and I really respect comedians who can take life and, like we're talking about, you know, create laughter, and because laughter brings people together. Like laughter, you know, can relate you to someone who you might not even know, where you look across the room and you see someone dying at a joke like you're like, we relate in something because we both found this funny. Yeah. And I know Ellen for sure said this, that the reason why she got into comedy is because some trauma she went through when she was younger. She needed a outlet to see her mom smile. Whew, that's so deep. That's so deep. And I don't want to get into her story right now because it's pretty deep, but the things she went through, you will understand why she needed to see her mom smile. And that was almost like her labor of love. And I think Kamau said this earlier on the IG Live, a labor of love. When you figure out what can you do to bring a smile, a simple smile to one of your most prized possessions in your life, who your mother is. And man, that made sense to me why comedians have such a gift to make things that should not be funny make your stomach hurt, like you were saying.
Yo, Jim Carrey said the same thing, the same exact thing. He said that his mother suffered from mental illness and lots of different things, like, and his dad too. And he just basically said that I wanted to prove to the world that I meant something, so my parents would walk through life and know that their lives meant something because they made somebody that meant something. Like, and if I meant something, then they did something with their lives. So that's why he was always trying to be funny, bring a laugh to their face. Like, I have to show that I'm important so they feel important. I was like, yay.
I'd be willing to bet he was the oldest child.
I think he was an only child, so double, triple down on that.
Even still, yeah. Yeah, I'll share it just because this was a conversation we were having earlier. I think there's something about it's a little bit of a blessing and a curse with being the oldest. And I'm sure people who are the only child feel this too, where it's just like, it's this relationship with your parents where, you know, hate it or love it, you seek a certain level of approval. You seek a certain level of appreciation of that they're proud of you. I don't know how to put that in any other way, but and you do things, you shape your behavior in a way that pursues that. And it's crazy. It really is. It's just crazy how much that will change for people that we don't even know we're pursuing. You know, like it's almost like a level of programming that even when they're dead, you know, you're still thinking about how can I do such and such in a way that such and such would appreciate or would respect or admire.
And that's heavy for me, not because I'm the oldest, but because I benefit from the oldest. I benefit from my older siblings, like, and they carry that weight. I was just having that conversation with my sister about that, like her taking care of my mom, my grandma in a way that gives me the freedom to move how I move, give me the freedom to be as obsessive as I am. Because a lot of times we don't realize, and we're just talking about it this weekend, the black tax. Like when you start winning as a black person and you're the first person in your family, you got to take care of your cousins. You got to take care of this person that hasn't been in school.
Talk about that
like
part.
Like that black tax is, and it's not because I have to take care of them, but no, there's wrongs that have to be made up for. And because you're the first one to win in excess, all that excess is payback. Right. And just to get people to the level playing field, just to the ground floor. So it's like that black tax is a real thing, like the price of winning. And I feel like the oldest pays that in a sense of that responsibility to, I was the first. And really, when parents have that prime energy, they're pouring the most into you. They're pouring the most into you. And it's almost that expectation of low key, you raise your little siblings. Especially in the house, I can speak for the Nigerian household. Like your little siblings are your responsibility too. Like I poured all this into you. Pass the phone, pass the message. Right. So I'm a benefit of that message being passed well through how they were living, how they were operating. So in the sense of the oldest tax, I don't pay it, and kind of like Zuri, I move with a different freedom. Right. I move with a different. Let me pave my own way. I'm gonna show y'all this different path. I'm gonna be on a podcast. I'm gonna do this music. I'm gonna do, like, I feel like the youngest be such creatives because we have the freedom to be. Like the oldest, like that weight of, yeah, I want to be creative, but also I gotta hold it down for what they gave me.
You know, and that's this has kind of been holding me back mentally. I've been dealing with this, not in the sense that like because I'm the oldest, it doesn't feel as much like that, but maybe as I explained it, it might come, that might be it. But it's really just like I feel as the firstborn, I'm the first one who's found stability. I'm the first one who's found a level of success. And I'm, you know, in a way, I'm the flame holder or the flame bearer for the family now, right? And I want to risk it. Like I want to go and pursue what I want to pursue. I want to go and do some of this other shit that and I want to risk it. But there's a certain level of responsibility that me maintaining the stability helps everybody. Yeah. And it's tough, you know, it's tough. It's because it's like, it's very hard to be like risk tolerant and also pursuing stability. Like the two things don't really coincide, you know. Right. Like if you are pursuing stability, then likely you're going to limit your risk. But I mean, as we all know, we've talked about, like, winning means taking risk. You know, betting on yourself is a risk. Pursuing your dreams is risky. Those are risky behaviors. It's not reckless, but they are risky. And I feel it's been conflict. It's been inner conflict to roll those dice and just to say, like, because you're not just rolling your dice. And I'm sure people who have kids or who are married, you know, can share this. You're not just rolling your dice. I'm rolling Facts. All of our dice.
Facts.
You know, and it's like that's a different level of pressure where it's just like, do I believe in the chances enough? And am I willing to explain to others if it doesn't pan out, like, or am I even willing to ask others to wait? Like you need to stand in the difficulty with me. It's one thing for me to be like, I can deal with a level of uncertainty for a few years because I know something. It's another thing to look somebody in the face who, like, they need stability, and you're like, we all waiting now. And it was a choice that you made.
Yeah. No, that's heavy. Because when people talk about betting on themselves, like you said, you're just not rolling your own dice. When you know that, okay, I got these extra funds and I have an opportunity to invest in this dream that's a risk, but I believe in it. But at the same time, you got maybe a younger family member that needs money for school. And you tell them,
Literally.
figure it out so I can fuel my dream. And then you telling yourself that, I believe I got you. And it gives you more fuel for the fire once you take that risk to bet on you. But a lot of people, and it's so hard to say because it's a trade-off, right? What you're doing by giving money to that family member is not wrong. And it's something that pays off 20 years down the road too. If they handle business, that connection, they will love you forever. Mm-hmm. Like I'm telling you, I've seen the difference. My dad made bank. And he could have lived a lot different. We all could have lived a lot different if he didn't bring over some of my cousins with us and raise them like they were his own kids and help give them the same opportunity. That bread got breaking up, like with 11, 12, 13, 14, how many kids? But when he passed, I get phone calls like, your dad was my dad too. I'm not who I am if he wasn't the man he was. So I'm sure there's some other dreams that he may not have gotten a touch because he spread that wealth. So it's like, it's hard. There is no right or wrong answer. Yeah. There is no, but I'm also sure when he was younger, there's some people he had to look in the eye and say, I don't have it. Right? And I said this before, my dad told me that, like, you help a lot more people as a rich man than a poor man. Like, you have to handle the load on your own head for you help somebody else's out. But when you have that load and yours is, like you said, Kamau said, that stability, how much of that, how much balance you going to give somebody else?
Yeah.
Man. How much balance you going to give somebody else?
So while you all were dropping all them gems, I'm just over here thinking, right? Because I can't relate.
Please start cooking. Also transition into your segment because we've been going for a minute.
Okay, just one last thing that I'm gonna hop into the next segment. I can't relate to being the oldest, but what I can relate to is seeing my older brother and his personality, which is a lot more, I would say, serious, very grounded, very technical. My brother's very technical. We're 5 years apart. And growing up, that used to bother me because I used to be like, why aren't we laughing more? You know what I'm saying? Like we're siblings. But as I got older, I appreciated that balance of seeing someone who was completely opposite of me, because we all are part of our own story. We all write our own story. Our stories are already ordained for us, and our personalities are a part of that, all down to the nook and cranny of who God chose to be your family, right? And if you take those gems and those secrets that you see and that you feel as you were growing up, it's all a part of your story. Like, I was the youngest for a reason. And as I get older and start pivoting into my purpose and pivoting into who I am, I start to realize different messages that I received that when I was younger, I wish I had this, wish I had that. But now that I'm older, I'm like, thank God I was the youngest, or thank God I thought like that when I was a child, because now I see that fueled me to be in an industry where people are that type of personality, very type A, very, always serious. But that's my dream, to build in this arena where the personalities are more, I would say, of like my brothers who are the oldest, right? So, and that's just one thing I've noticed. So yeah, man, no matter, oldest, youngest, you have to see what works for you. And I would even say you gotta buckle down and see how it serves you even now, even though, that was our younger self. And it's so crazy that we're talking about this, and y'all about to see why. So as I segue into the first segment, Pivot into Purpose, Pivot, for any first time listeners, Pivot into Purpose is a segment where we invite the culture into our brand of Pivot and Proceed, where a lot of times when you hear us speak on this podcast, we're talking about our own stories. We're talking about how we've pivoted in our own personal lives. And we've also talking about how we've actually chosen or was forced to proceed on within that pivot. So today I want to talk about two individuals who are in the media space, I would say. The first being Marsai Martin and the second being Akira Akbar, which are two young, thriving, successful individuals in the TV and film industry. Akira is 16 and Marsai is 18. Why I find them very intriguing and why I want to talk about them pivoting into their purpose is because I don't know what it feels like to pivot into my purpose on such a big stage at such a young age. You don't know at that age, and I know I didn't as a teenager, of one, how mean the world can be, and two, how mean the world could be towards your purpose or towards your dreams. You hear a lot of naysayers. You might have family around you, but there are a lot of people around you, whether it's friends at the school that you're attending, or even family members sometimes, of just pointing the finger saying you might be too young to do this. Like you don't know what you really want to do yet. You're only 16. But then you look at people like Marsai Martin and Akira Akbar who are pivoting into a purpose at such a young age. And what I want to challenge my two co-hosts today within this segment is to speak to your younger self about how you've pivoted into your purpose and how you're still pivoting into your purpose. And I want to know, what would you tell young Tunji? What would you tell young Kamau at 18, 16, like Marsai and Akira, on how you see this world now and how to pivot into your purpose and make it meaningful for yourself to pivot in such a meaningful way?
I'm going to jump off by saying lean into your strengths. And I think when you're younger, you recognize that you're good at something. Some things come super easy to you. And for me, it took a long time to see value in those things. Like I knew I could talk. I knew I had a lot of good friendships. I knew that people generally liked me and that I was popular and that I had influence. But I didn't think of those things any more than in the confines of school or in the confines of, my social circle. I didn't really see, how this could be useful outside of just school, and, looking back, I realized that those are the foundations for which a lot of my success has been built on. They've been built on relationships. They've been built on trust and being able to work with people and teamwork and, and relationships again. And I think when you're younger, it's very easy to devalue the stuff that comes naturally to you. It's very easy just to be like, oh yeah, that thing, I'm kind of good at this. I kind of get in trouble for this sometimes, but like, it's the thing I like to do, or it's the thing I'm good at, or, there's so much power in leaning into your strengths. And I think the older you get, the more you realize that you don't really need to become a master of everything to have success in your life. You don't need all the things that you suck at. You don't necessarily need. There's ways that you can adjust to find things and ways to help make up for your lack of success in those areas. Like, just going to use basketball as an example. If you can't dunk the ball, there's a bunch of other components to the game that you could be really good at. If you're not a super good passer, there's a certain position that might not be good for you. You might not be a point guard. You might just be a better shooting guard. You might just be better at scoring, but there is something that you're definitely good at. And instead of trying to be the best at everything, just find the thing that you're good at and really recognize that's a gift, and do the research. Take the time to see, like, what are all the possible ways that I can apply this strength? Like, what are all the ways that other people in the past have been successful because they've done this, and start to really look at all your options and all the ideas that are out there for you to leverage this thing that you've been blessed with.
So number one, heat. Number two, answering for myself. This question scares me. I don't think I would tell 18-year-old me anything. I don't think I would tell 16-year-old me anything, because I think that me being me, I would autocorrect the failure that I needed. And I caught a lot of L's in that time that turned into blessings. And I'm scared that I would tell myself the right thing that's the wrong thing. And that failure I needed, I wouldn't have. And then the chip on my shoulder that I needed in that pocket, I wouldn't have it, right? The lesson that I learned from being stupid, I wouldn't have learned it. And then I would have caught it now at 32, because the lesson's still going to come full circle.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as pivoting into my purpose, and because of I'm here with y'all right now in this moment, and I don't want to mess up this moment by auto-correcting young me. So I don't think I would say anything to me. If I could talk to one of my friends, I'd be like, yo, push him harder. Right? I talk to one of my people and be like, he can do more. He can be more. So I wouldn't even talk to myself. I would talk to one of my peoples and say like, yo, both of y'all got another gear. You got different gears. You think you cooking, you not. You're going to look back at you now and be like, you have no idea what you're capable of. But I wouldn't say it to me, because then it would make it if I said it to me, I would be scared to make mistakes.
Okay.
So I would say it to somebody else around me. So they would just be like, nah, you can do more. You can do more. And then they would just be feeding life into me, no matter how it came out.
No, that sounds like that's big on community too. Like, you know, like you investing, you want people to invest in you, of who you know you invested in and put love into. Man, really both great perspectives and really strong perspectives. And as we segue out of this segment, I just want to always remind people, you know, it's always good to always think about, you know, who did you need when you were younger at this moment? And for you to look in the mirror and say, you know, are you that person? Right? Am I that Zuri that the 16-year-old Zuri needed to hear? Not wanted to hear, but what I needed to hear. And are you communicating that message to your younger self in a loving, caring, and gentle way that speaks to who you are as a person and your love language? And just always thinking about that to get you to your next level. I think, you know, we don't want to sit on the past or stay in the past, but I think the past is a great reminder that sometimes you have to, all the time, you have to love who you were and love what you did not know, but also still being that person for, you know, a 16-year-old Kamau that you might see yourself in, right? Or 18-year-old Zuri that I might see that I just know needs what I need. And big ups to Marseille Martin and Akira Akbar. Hopefully one day you hear this. I mean, you all are trailblazers at 18. Marseille has her own production company at 18. I mean, it's dope. And I think pivoting your purpose in such a young age can also be hard. I think with capitalism, a lot of times you have the Forbes 30 under 30. You have the Forbes, you know, at 18 this, but people don't understand that that's a lot of pressure. You're figuring out that the world isn't as nice at such a young age. So even though if you're a trailblazer at such a young age, it's so important to really lock in those moments and hopefully have people around you that can speak life into you like we did on this podcast in this segment.
Come on now. Let me add to this real quick, just because what you just said was really speaking to me. And it's something I've said for a long time, but yeah, I have a soft spot for people who are very successful at a very young age. And I relate to it about the stability comment that I just made. You know, when you're really successful, when you're generationally successful at a really young age, where you've superseded everything that your family and your grandparents and their, you know, when you're generationally successful at that young of an age, you're paying people salaries. You're 16 years old. You got a team of 8 people around you who are all feeding their families based on the thing that you do. You know how much pressure that is as a young person who's trying to find themselves, who's trying to, you know what I'm saying? Like, all of us go through that. Like, you are finding yourself. Like, even if you found a pocket that you're cooking in, who you are at 16 is not who you're going to be at 26. And you're not going to be at 36. you're going to be a different person. And to maintain that output and to maintain that work as that entire transition is happening as you're growing up, it is extremely difficult. Extremely difficult. So yeah, I mean, not only big ups and props, but just like, man, my heart goes out for you, because I don't know if I would want to be in that same position. There's a certain aspect, like there's a joy of being an adult and knowing yourself and being a lot more grounded and taking on the world, taking on those kind of responsibilities, as opposed to being basically, an adolescent and doing that.
Man.
Facts.
Ooh, I keep going on that because you just brought a dope perspective to it. You really, really hooked me in, Kamau, when you said that you didn't know if you will even want to be in that position. Because like I said, it sounds so sexy, right? Oh, at 18, I'm a multimillionaire, right? Just guessing their salary based on what they're, accomplishing. But to know Zuri at 18, I didn't even know what I needed to know. I didn't even know, it's like there were so many things that weren't on my mind because I felt I was an oblivious teenager at the time. So knowing if I had that responsibility, but then on the other side of the coin, God doesn't make mistakes. So they are in that position because God has equipped Marseille and Akira and all other young professionals who have found monetary success and success. God has equipped them already for everything they need. So then I'm on that other side of coin where, again, big ups to y'all, because being on a stage like that, God is not going to put anyone on the stage who he hasn't given them the personality and the knowing and people around them to help them matriculate through those years of not knowing what they need to know yet. So I think both perspectives, and Kamau, like that heart goes out to you. It really does, because in 10 years, they're probably going to look back and say, hey, that was a mistake, or that was my favorite failure, et cetera, et cetera. But knowing that you are equipped with funds, I think that definitely helps.
It does indeed. Cool. As we make this transition into the next segment, how should I proceed? This one for our first time listeners is really where us as co-hosts speak on a situation from a listener, where it's a perspective and they're going through life, they're living life, as we are. We're three individuals who are living life and pivoting and finding success and finding failures too, as we will get to that later. But this is a two-way conversation, and that's what this segment is about. It's about us providing some perspective. You could call it advice, you could call it insight, you could call it reflection about something somebody else is going through, and they're looking for some perspective on how to proceed forward. So this is a pretty short one. It's not as narratively heavy. So from a writer, I'm going to be 26 years old. I always feel like I have wasted my early 20s because I have made some mistakes which I seriously regret. I had no goals in life and wasted hanging out with the wrong people. What can I do about it? How should I proceed?
I'll go ahead and jump in, and I will say this. I'll answer like my idiom, the one word response. What can you do about it? Nothing. About what has happened already, you can't do nothing. You have to accept what you did and who you were and use that to fuel who you want to be. And that's just my mentality. Like, so really digging into it and saying, okay, what good has come from it? Because now you're a writer. Now you have stories. Now you have all these experiences that you just look at as negative that you want to forget. And that may be the very thing you need. That may be like you're sitting on inspiration. And especially if something is sitting in you and it's bothering you that much, you have a craft to put it into. So I would say put it into a craft, even if it's not for the world, even if it's just for you. That is a starting point to give that time meaning. So you can't do anything to change it. Nothing is going to change it. but you can use it. So that would be my response. You can't do anything but use it. So use it and make it mean something.
Sheesh. I'm gonna hop on in. When you were reading that, Kamau, first word that popped in my head is required.
Mm.
You are required to mess up at a young age, at an old age. That is mandatory for us as humans. That is required for growth. And also, to this listener who sent this in, it is okay to not be okay. So if these mistakes have gotten you down, if these mistakes have made you feel an outer body experience of not being who you think you're called to be at this age, you are still required to make mistakes. You are still required to not know where to go next. That's a part of the plan. That's a part of your story. That is required to be lost for a while. It's mandatory. We always can't know where we're going next. We always can't know our next step. We always can't know the next person we're going to fall in love with. We're not supposed to know that. We are required to not know, so we are not in control. So we can give that control over, so we can learn how to only be in control for whatever in that day is calling us for. Being in the moment. We are required to be in every moment and appreciate every moment, because you can find inspiration in the smallest things only if you do what's required of you, which is show up, love yourself, and put one foot in front of the other, even if you are lost as hell. It's going to happen. But growth is on the other side of doing what is called of us to be required to do to be able to grow.
Ooh, one word. You guys had some good words. I'll give a phrase. I think trust the process. Trust the process. 25, about to turn 26. I mean, that's quarter life crisis territory to me. And if you've been through a quarter life crisis, you kind of know. Maybe you didn't even know you were going through a quarter life crisis. I think for me, it was more so just like, I'm not where I'm supposed to be at this age. And I had goals, and it sounds like this person didn't have goals, but I had goals. I knew I wanted something. I wanted to be somewhere. And when you're not at that place, I think you question everything. You're like, what the hell have I been doing? And some people maybe who weren't as intentional as you know, you still know, like, clearly where I am is not where I'm supposed to be. Like, I don't know how I got here. I mean, I knew I wasn't really working towards something, but where I'm at, I'm not really happy with. And you know, and so to me, like, kind of like Zuri said, I mean, it's a matter of putting one foot in front of the other. But I think it's also about doing a little bit of soul searching. You know, something I'm a big fan of is, if you don't know where to go, don't go. Like, do nothing. Don't go running in a direction that you don't even know you should be going in, just because you feel like you need to move. That's not the solution. Don't run when you can't even see through the windshield. Like, take a second, pull over, clean your windshields, refresh your maps, on the road, you know. But it's a matter of like stopping, you know, and revitalizing your process, and trusting it, trusting the next step, trusting the next stage, right? Trusting that if I start this car, or if I, you know, put my shoes on, I start walking, that I'm gonna go somewhere. You know, that this isn't just for nothing.
All right, listen. I had to hop back in because I almost threw this mic. I almost threw this mic when Kamau said, if you don't know where you're going, don't go. You don't know why that hit me so hard, because if we move, when we're not supposed to move, if we go when we're feeling a pull to not even move or we have no clue, when you are confused, it's okay to just sit and figure out the next move. Because if we move
Real
when we're
talk.
not supposed to move, we will end up in an environment that was never supposed to even touch our DNA. That environment wasn't even supposed to know us. But because we moved outside of alignment just to move, just to say you're moving, you will backtrack yourself and take more steps back than where you even felt lost. And to build back up that momentum or courage or confidence is so hard. It's doable, but it's so hard, and it takes so much energy when all you had to do was not go or not move.
Yeah, no, that's real. It's a quote come to mind that a man that does not know his destination, what for a man that does not know his destination, no wind is favorable. And they were talking about a sailor on a boat. If you don't know where you're going, even when the wind is going exactly where you need to go, you don't know where you're going. So no wind is helping you out. Everywhere is an L.
Put that anchor down.
Yeah, I'm telling you. And something you said come out that really transitioned us perfectly into favorite failure. For my first favorite failure was you ended with nothing, do nothing. And I think that's a powerful lesson that I learned. And favorite failure, again, it's exactly how it sounds. Something that's a favorite failure now, but you have to touch on the point where it was a failure, where you took an L. And now in retrospect, after pivoting, after proceeding, after reflecting on it, you're like, nah, I get to be me because of this failure. And mine, the do nothing, reminded me of one of my babies, my first year teacher. You know, that student with all the attitude, all the fire. Well, on the first day, like she had her back to me or whatever, and I was like, "Excuse me, young lady, could you face this way?" And when I tell you, the way she cut her eyes at me, I almost put hands on her. I grabbed her chair and I was like, "Hey, Tunji, chill out. Like this ain't the house. This ain't the house."
Woo.
Right? But I mean, this inner city LA, and she, of course, you learning over time. She was going through it. Like every struggle a young girl could have, a young person could have, she low key had it. And so I gave them my soul, like those are my babies. And then she was going to a different school, but I came back, I circled back, and some of those group of kids I was still with, she wasn't there, but she had gotten pregnant in like 10th, 11th grade. Right. And I had this overwhelming feeling of I failed her.
Wow.
Right. Like I failed her. I didn't do enough. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. But what you said, Kamau, that do nothing made me realize, like I learned in over time that you give everything you can to a person, there is no way that it's failure. Right. And that it's not that there is no end all be all. And sometimes, like we say, those journeys, trust the process. That sometimes my responsibility is to love, love, love. And when my time is done, to step away. And then when she picks up that phone again, when she emails me again, show up. Still show up. So like it gave me the power to say, okay, do nothing. But when I heard, I was like, yo, have her hit me up if she needs anything.
Yeah.
And I ended up seeing her and she still had her smile. She was still hurt. And that felt good. Like it's not the end of the world. And sometimes the best thing you can do is do nothing. And you giving your everything to someone is never a failure. Because by you giving your everything, you find out more about yourself. Mm-hmm. So like that really showed me the power of like doing nothing. Like after when I heard that, to not feel like I have to, I don't even know if it makes sense. I don't even know if I'm making sense, but I do know that I look back on that moment of finding out and being like, no, I failed. I failed my like baby. Like, cause this is like my daughter. This is like my niece. This is family. But the beautiful thing about is being in that uncle role is you go to uncle and check in. Like you run to uncle when you need it. So it gives me the freedom to be me. And even today, when I get opportunities where I'm like, I'm tempted to do too much, I'm tempted to interfere in somebody's journey. That's what I'm looking to say. I'm tempted to interfere in somebody's growth. Do nothing.
You know, I want to share something that's really personal. But I'm putting this out there with the faith and the knowing that like that this is gonna help, I guess you can say. You know, I'm my family kind of experienced this firsthand where a sibling of mine chose not to like have a relationship with a parent of mine. And that like tears obviously like a hole in that parent's heart, right? And I know this isn't a situation that like my family's the only one who's gone through this, but one of the toughest parts about that is most parents, like most people, you just want to spring into action. You're like, no, make sure that person reaches out to me. Make sure that they, you know, like you just want to do something. I mean, you'll go crazy lengths as a parent, you know, hire a private investigator, go find this person. Where are they? Like, what do I need? And recently it's been very interesting listening to the parent because really they can't do nothing. And they've accepted that in the sense that like I can't do nothing. And when that person reaches back out, like I'm going to be here for them. And that's the hardest part though, is choosing to defer action until action is required, because we think action is required right now because we feel something. And instead of letting somebody go through their own journey and letting somebody and find their own truth, like we want to quote unquote assist them in finding that truth. You know, we like, no, we need to help this person who's lost. You're not the right helper at that time.
Talk.
And you know, it takes a level of discipline and it takes a level of a lot of things to recognize that and to be like, you know what, if this door opens up again, then I'm gonna show up the best way that I can. But until it opens up, I'm not gonna bang on it. I'm not gonna try to pry it open. I'm not gonna go hire a lock master to come break through the lock. I'm just gonna stand here and wait.
Man, that's good. I'm gonna hop on in and have a favorite failure. So my favorite failure this week, I have a little spin on it. My favorite failure is actually me feeling like a failure. These past 2 weeks, I said this on the last episode, I've been in rooms where I have not felt like I belonged. 1, 2, I felt I was not the smartest in the room. And 3, I felt small in a case in these rooms. Just a little background, my 9 to 5, I'm in the profession of construction development. So I was in a room with individuals who have been in this profession for decades. And once you reach a certain level in this development profession, you have to take state law exams to be certified in different land processes. So that time has come for me. And I'm late. I'm so excited, right, to get this journey started. But what I didn't know is I was going to learn a lot about myself in this season during this process. So this fear starts to creep up on me as I'm going through these classes. 32 hours, gruesome, for an exam at the end that dictates where you go next in this career. And fear starts to creep in, doubt starts to creep in as I'm sitting in that environment. And it's amazing how if you let fear take over, you will literally have an outer body experience and forget who you are and forget why you're even qualified to be in that room.
Talk.
And as I'm sitting there, I decide something's just like, hey, just get some fresh air, go outside. So I decide to get up, walk a little bit, get the blood flowing, you know, try to get my mind back right. And this guy who I've never seen before until this class starts, he positions for me. He waves at me to, you know, hand gesture to come here. Let me talk to you. Mind you, I've never met this guy before. He looks at me. He says, you know what? How long you been in construction? I said about 5 years. He said, you a bad girl. Keep it going. Keep it going. You got something. You belong in this room. Y'all, like, I'm not kidding. I'm in there battling in my head. Like, how do I show up and show out in this room so I can, one, pass this exam to get to my dreams and goals and what I need to do now? And two, how do I not look like a fool? Like, I don't know what's going on in this room. Little did I know that God will always send a little nudge or a little message to let you know that you're qualified. And what you're thinking about and what you're going through right now is required. It's a mandatory action for you to sit here and battle this with you, because I'm about to show up for you and I'm about to tell you why you belong in this room. And the person, you know, I answer, I just say, thank you. You know, I really appreciate that. And he's like, I'm going to tell you why I said this after we take the exam, right? Lo and behold, he finishes way before me. I'm the last one sitting in the room, like, trying to get it done. So he's gone, but I don't think he was supposed to tell me why. I think I was supposed to figure out why this stranger that I've never seen before is giving me this confidence that he didn't even know I needed in this moment right now at that time. And I was so appreciative. My heart was happy. I had butterflies in my stomach, because as I went into that test, when I looked through it, it was 50 questions. I knew 25 right off the bat, right? And that is such a message to anyone who's ever doubted themselves, who have fear creep in. You really have to lock down and dig deep to know that you belong. And I promise you, you would not be in that room if your DNA wasn't made up to be in that room. And sometimes God is going to send that perfect person or that perfect message for you to leave fear behind. Like, I threw fear right in the trash can when I walked back in the room, and I sat with my head held high with a smile on my face saying, I'm ready. Looked at that exam and came out on the other side, because I'm officially certified in what I've always wanted to be certified in, knowing that this is a stepping stone to get me where I know I'm aiming towards and know where I'm going to get to. So favorite failure this week was feeling like a failure, coming out on the other side and being more confident in 30 seconds than I was before I let fear creep in.
Hey, that's one of them ones. That's one of them ones.
That's tough. Congrats, by the way.
No, facts.
Appreciate it.
Facts. That's dope. I'm over here cheesing. Sliding seamlessly into glows and grows.
Whoa, brother.
Oh, my bad. I saw rambunctious. All right.
Can I share where I failed in life?
I thought your earlier was your favorite failure. Like the family stuff. My bad, OG, triple OG.
No. I mean, that definitely could be. You know, my favorite failure, I'll be brief with it, is it's kind of something that I'm both trying to implement at work with my team, but I really recognize that it was more of a habit of my life. And it's just interesting how much our habits in life influence like how we show up in other spaces. This habit in my life was, I feel like I'm a person with good awareness, good self-awareness. And when I notice something, specifically when it pertains to me, like when I notice like, a change would be good here, or I probably should do that thing, or man, I probably should go take that class, or I probably should lose some weight, or I probably should be eating healthy, or I probably should do this or that or whatever, right? When you notice a thing that would be beneficial to you in the area of growth that you desire, I procrastinate on that. I say, all right, yeah, but I could push it off. I could push it off for 3 weeks. 3 weeks becomes a month and a half, etc. And this week has been a very challenging week for me from a physical medical perspective, and it is the result of procrastinating many times on decisions, on things that I peeped, that I had the awareness to recognize that I should probably make a change, but that change got delayed and delayed and delayed, and now your boy is standing at the end of, or at the bottom of the mountain where all this shit is cascading and crashing down on me. And this is a part of the pivoting. This is a part of the philosophy of pivoting. It's not just big life career pivots, but it's the small pivots that matter too. When you know that there's something that you should change, where you notice like, man, a little pivot here could go a long way. It could save me from some headache in the future. Instead of just putting it to the back of your mind or the back of your to-do list, like don't respect yourself, fool. That's what I wish I could say to myself. Respect yourself, fool, because like you put this pivot to the back, and like, damn, I wish I wouldn't. I wish I'm not standing here right now. And all it would have taken is just to act. All it would have taken is like spend an extra $50, buy the thing that's going to help you. And when it comes to self-care specifically, do not procrastinate. Do not procrastinate. Like if you notice it, do it. If you see something, do it. Don't procrastinate. And it might not be completed. I'm not saying if you see something and you need to change, I'm not saying complete the change, but I am saying take the first step. I am saying take the first couple of steps. Get in motion. Like implement the change. Don't procrastinate on it, because you noticed it for a reason, especially if it's something that can be a catalyst for growth or a catalyst for health or well-being. Like don't procrastinate, because that procrastinate ends up like procrastinating. Like procrastinating usually just expands, and it doubles up and it triples up, and way more time goes by than necessary if you would have just did a small pivot in the moment. So that's my failure, is that I neglected the pivot when I noticed that I should. And it came all crashing down, and it fucking sucks. It hurts. It hurts a lot. So, yeah.
I feel like everybody is looking at themselves in their own lives right now, like what we all procrastinating on and what we sitting on. And yeah, it's one of those things where we have so many opportunities to learn from each other. I guess I'm talking to you just as much as I'm talking to me just as much as I'm talking to anybody else. Like, let's learn from each other. Because in this moment, Kamau was speaking, and I'm just looking at myself, like thinking about my own life. Like, what am I sitting on? Mm-hmm. What do I know that I need to do that I'm playing with it? And the time's going to come where the bills got to be paid. And now it's 90 days of payments, and I ain't got the bread.
Sure is.
And now my body got to pay for it. My, wallet got to pay for it. My mind has to pay for it. So just do right by you. And that being said, going into Glows and Grows, unless anything else we want to share, anything else on anybody's hearts. Glows and Grows, jumping straight into it. Super excited. My Glow. And there's a soundtrack to it, because it is a soundtrack. Me and my boy Unsaid dropped the track. The group name is called the Wright Brothers.
Let's get it.
WRITE. The name of the track is Baby. And what I love about this is I'm not rapping, I'm not singing, I'm speaking. I'm being me. And he's a talented lyricist. He's a talented artist in multiple forms. Just like same reason we came together here and it came out in this form. Me and my brother, we came together in that same time of turmoil, that same time of struggle, that same time of growth. And we came together and we made art, and we're continuing to. So we've been doing this since early last year. Finally got in the studio in March, and shout out Banga as well, because he's the one that got us in the studio. Like, y'all play it, like, do this. So we made a track. It's got an old school like sample, and it's just special. It's great storytelling. It's something you can ride and vibe to. And I've just been listening to. You know, when you talk about doing something, and now it's living in reality, and you know it's dope to you, and you're proud to put it out. It's that. So it's a glow. And I'll also say it speaks to the growth as well. It sums up everything. Because when I listen to this song, I hear a year of my life. So many stories are packed into the making of the song. So yeah, Baby, featuring Unsaid and the Most Blessed Man Alive.
Hey man, where we find this thing at?
Hey man, you're gonna find it on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram.
Okay.
Wherever ears are able to listen to music, you can find it.
Let's go.
Yeah, I have to say something too. That cover art from my favorite movie. When I saw that, I just knew it was gonna hit.
I'm telling you,
knew it was gonna hit.
My boy said did it. He a graphic artist. He nasty with that pen in every way, shape, or form. That pen is ill.
I love it. I love it. When I saw that, one of my favorite scenes, you know what I'm saying? When he tackle her and they in the grass.
It's one of everybody's favorite scenes. I'm watching Love and Basketball, like,
right. Like the little attitude sprinkled on top. It's perfect. Yeah. It's perfect. Congrats. I listened to it. It is a vibe. You can listen to it with the windows down on the beach. Hey, listen, congrats. And man, it's just something beautiful to see someone who you're building with also outside of what you're building with them is also not neglecting other dreams. And that's so beautiful. So giving you your flowers, for sure.
Thank you.
My growing glow would have to be this week. I'm gonna group them together. And it's really finding inspiration in even the details and little things. I gave an example earlier with my favorite failure. That was finding inspiration. I have found myself maybe sitting in silence, walking, and sometimes I even make up my own inspiration. And I think that's a blessing in itself as well, that I can look within and create my own inspiration. And also being around people who you trust, that you hear gems or you hear God through your friends. I think that's also a blessing, and you can find inspiration that way. So just find inspiration in the simplest of things. Also, I know I said only one, but I have another one. Maturity. I have really matured over these past 2 years, I would say. I can be very fast at doing things, whether it's literally anything. Romantic relationships, I move fast. Dreams, I could move too fast. Like anything, name it. Zuri moves fast. And I think with maturity, I'm able to be so confident that if it's meant to be, then it will be. And I don't have to move as fast. And I say that I had an example earlier present itself with my nonprofit. I used to be so excited to talk about it. I used to talk a mile a minute, but I would miss different nuances that I needed to be in the moment right then and there. I would be thinking about the finish line and not thinking about this one step right now is a brick that needs to be built. And the maturity I found in that has matriculated through my life in other areas where slowing down and making mature decisions prevails you faster than moving fast and moving incorrectly. I'd rather move slower and move correctly than move fast just to say I'm moving at the speed of light. The soundtrack would have to be that New Black. He has the album is Since I Have a Lover. And that's actually right now my favorite song on the album. I just love a good just vibe R&B. I'm R&B heavy. I want you to be begging on the song to get your love back. Like I want the begs. I want that R&B. And Black gives me that. But also I have two actually, and Coco Jones. Coco Jones is another soundtrack. I've just been really heavy on the R&B, of course, and those two have really been hitting these past week. So yeah, that's my grow and glow.
Yeah, I totally relate to what you said about when you like when you have something like your nonprofit that you're excited about and you speak in a mile a minute. Like I think anybody who's created anything and somebody asks them like, oh, so what's that about? You know, you're like, oh, like you get so excited and you're trying to say everything so quickly. And you're not even conveying anything, right? Like the person is like, huh, like, or what, like, you're missing it. And I actually found myself, somebody asked about our podcast, and I found myself like explaining it like briefly, but also like gracefully. Like I wasn't rushing, I wasn't trying to get it everything out. I didn't need to tell them the whole story about everything that we've ever done, but I just said, like, this is what it is. This is what it does. And it was almost that thing, like, I just trust the alignment. Like, if it's something that sounds dope to you, then you're going to tap in. If it's something that's not for you, it's all good. But I trust this thing, and it's just kind of moving with grace in that. So I love that. For me, I'll start with the grow. Grow is the call to action. Actually, I feel like the grow is I want to be a better community manager, better community participant and leader with this community, the Pivot and Proceed community. So if you're somebody listening, if you get a DM from me, if I ever reach out to you, don't be surprised, because I'm really trying to do this. This is an important part. It's something that we've talked about off the mic. And, I just want there to be more of that two-way communication. And it's on me, it's on us to initiate that. So, FYI, I mean, and if you ever feel called, like, I'd love for you to DM me at what now Kamau. Like I'd love to just start the conversation and to get to know these people who listen. Like if you've been rocking with us, you listen to this long ass podcast, you're still here after an hour and 15 minutes, clearly, like, this is somebody that I want to talk to. I want to get to know. I want to know, what resonates with you and how we can do more of that. So that's my grow. In terms of my glow, like I said, it's kind of been a tough week, so it's kind of hard to find some glows. But I think what's coming to mind is just that, like, I'm doing a good job balancing things, and I think people are recognizing that. Specifically, like, my girl gave me my flowers just in terms of, she was like, just the way that you go hard for all the things that you go hard in, like you like, it's admirable. You definitely balance a lot. And you just do it. You don't even think about it. You don't even ask or complain, or you just feel like you're supposed to do it. And it was just like an awareness thing for me. I'm like, damn, like, I don't know. Like, I mean, to me, that's what I expect of myself. I expect me to go, to show up and all these. If I put my name on it, I'm committed. Like, I'm in. I need to. And I think sometimes when we set that expectation for ourselves, we don't give ourselves flowers, and we don't acknowledge that we're actually doing, that we're living up to our own standards. Like, we just do it, but like that is to be praised. If you're living up to your own standards, and your standards are high for yourself, whether that be in a particular category or a particular aspect of your life, if you're living up to your own standards, like, give yourself some love. Because we are our own worst critics, and we usually have the highest standards for ourselves. And so I'm living up to that. I'm maintaining balance. I'm on this unicycle juggling 4 balls with a hat that's on fire, and it's definitely not comfortable, but I'm doing it. In terms of my song, I've been on some real West Coast shit. I really got this song from TikTok. I ain't even gonna cap to y'all. The Zoe Osama. underrated. Like, bitch, I'm underrated. Switch lanes, get paid. All hundreds, no change. Like, man, that thing be slapping, bro.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, I've been on my West Coast vibe heavy. So yeah.
Yeah, no, okay, yeah, that's a banger. And and what I love this process at the end, just the wrap up and to go back and get to listen to y'all soundtracks. And it's almost like, especially after we listen to the episode, we live the episode, and then I listen to your soundtracks, and it's almost like your week makes more sense, your journey makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think about what you've been going through, having to stand come out and then listening to, bitch, I'm underrated, like, you know, like having to talk to yourself, right? And then like the R&B, like Beg for My Love, like, you know, that like having to love on yourself, like in that space of like, I'm a failure, I'm not here. So like the connections, when I hear it like back, it hit different. So that being said, y'all show yourself some love, show Coco Jones, Black, Zoe Osama, the Wright brothers some love, and we're grateful for you, as Kamau said. We look forward to deepening the community. If you haven't heard it today, if you haven't heard it at all, just know you are loved by us. You are loved. And as you move forward through life, may every pivot you have be followed by a proceed.
Absolutely. Peace.
Till next time.